mother-in-law, like, she's experiencing a health issue.
Oh no, what's wrong with her?
Her foot, like, she's got a problem with her foot.
Well, like a bone problem?
Like gout?
It could be any of those things. And it's just been getting, like, it's been
like a physical pain?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And then it's like, it's just been getting worse and worse, and she's, like, not going to the doctor.
Why?
I don't know. And I was talking to my wife about this. It's like, people do not want to do not want to go to the doctor. You know?
She's scared of the doctor. I've been sick for 2 weeks.
She must be, or something like that.
What's your excuse for not going?
I don't fucking
Fuck the doctor.
I asked her, I was like, how long has it been bothering you? And she's like, like 4 weeks. I'm like,
wow.
You got to go to the doctor.
Yeah, it's getting worse.
It's clear your body can't handle the problem. Whatever the problem is, it's beyond the scope of your body to heal itself. So it's like time to go to the doctor.
Oh, wow.
And it's funny because I had like another conversation with my wife last night where I was like, it comes down, we were talking about like raising like our son.
Right.
My wife and our son. And like, you know,
You want to pass on that.
disciplining him and stuff like that. And I'm like, it comes down to this idea that it's like, there's always two ways to do everything. There's the expedient way that's like, okay, I'm just going to cut some corners here because I'm too like tired or too frustrated or too lazy to do things properly. And then there's the way of like, it's going to suck a little more right now, but if I do it, it'll pay off in the long run. Those are always the two options. And I told her, it's like, never in my life has the former worked out. Never in my life did I take like the shortcut and have it actually be worth the shortcut. It's never paid off once where it was like, oh, I'll just cut this corner now and be fine. It always has come back to bite me.
Yeah.
And it's like, I see it all the time. It's like people still like, myself and other people, like I still do it too, where it's like I still take the easy way out basically and pay for it, even though like I have this experience where I know like it's probably going to bite me in the ass at some point. And it's just like people are so notorious for that like bad habit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, but I don't know why. It's like you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, exactly.
And
you
guys are and have been in the same position. Has it ever worked out for you where you're like, I'll take a shortcut and it'll be fine, you know?
It's rarer, but when it does happen, it's like, yeah,
it's
so good. It's so
succeeded.
good. Just so good.
I think generally it's been bad too for me, because you don't. Plus, it gives me tension because then you're like, oh, this is wrong. What if somebody catches it or something?
Yeah. I do that at work a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Actually, it's been working out pretty good. I've been doing it.
That means you're advancing it.
It's a bad system, though, to do that. Yeah, it is. Yeah, because I feel like it encourages you to be lazy, and then also, when it does get fucked up, you know. And if it's something elaborate and you fuck up a small detail, then like the things you built on top of it are all wrong too.
Exactly.
So it's like everything is wrong. It's like, oh god.
My dad used to tell me too. He's like when you rush to get something done and fuck it up, you ultimately take more time than if you had just taken your time and done it properly in the first place.
In Spanish, there's a saying for that: "El vago trabaja por dos," which means the lazy one works for two people. That's the work of two people.
Oh,
because then you have to come back and redo it. You know.
Oh, I love that. There's so many good sayings like in Spanish.
Yeah.
Like I was at the graduation ceremony, and the keynote speaker was he was a Spanish speaker, and he was throwing out all these great like Spanish sayings. One of them he put was like, I obviously don't remember the Spanish, but it's like, watch where you walk because somebody might be following in your footsteps.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever heard that one, but it's like,
no, but that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good saying.
You got any other good Spanish sayings?
I think one I told you before is dime con quien andas y te diré quién eres, which means tell me who you hang out with and I'll tell you who you are.
Yeah, he actually used that one in the keynote in his
he did
too. Yeah,
oh, nice. That's a good one, I think.
Yeah, that is true. They say that you were like the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Right, like if you're hanging out with a lot of shitty people, like you're probably shitty.
Yes, good chance, strong chance that you're pretty shitty. I was thinking about that, and I was like, the people I spend the most time with are the fucking kids at school.
Yeah, well, your job, that's different.
You think so?
Because it's not by choice, really. It's like you're...
Does it work that way?
That's like the commute, you know? It's like all these bus people.
Well, you bring up a good point, actually. Sorry, go ahead.
Because you're not hanging out with them, you know? You're just...
interacting with them.
Right. And it's not for... It's not like for prolonged periods, if you really think about it.
But I think like when it comes down to it, it's like I see them 45 minutes a day, 5 days a week. That's more time than I see anybody else except for my wife and my son.
That's true.
Yeah, I think the thing is, you have a point, but it's different. But yeah, it's still bad in a way because those people are toxic, right?
Oh yeah.
And so that will affect. So like, it's not as bad as if you willingly, or just out of your own accord, go hang out with a crackhead, you know. But in this case, it is different, but it's still, I think, it's probably having negative effects on your psyche, and your life, because you're forced or not, you're spending time with shitty people, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I was worried about that.
So that actually is a good point. It is different. It's not as bad, but it is bad.
Yeah.
You have your detox period now.
Yeah,
it's all over now.
My meditation is so much better. I was like enlightened, like, oh.
So you went to the graduation?
Yeah, I'm contractually obligated to be there.
How was it? Horrible.
Horrible? No, like horrible would imply that like there was like pain and suffering, but it was like
Bullshit.
it's like waiting for a bus for an hour, you know.
So you weren't really thrilled with it?
No, but then again, you know, it's like I don't really get excited about such things anyway. Like I didn't attend my own college graduation.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, same.
People are gonna regret it. I'm like, no, I don't regret it at all. I think I would have regretted it if I went.
Yeah, because I remember high school graduation. It's just like, why? You know, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Why are you putting us through this?
Yeah, so bizarre. I was seeing that in the high school. They were setting up the chairs like the other day. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah,
It's
so
just for the
long.
parents. That's
Yeah,
all
it
it's
is.
for. It's not for the students.
And I feel like sometimes you see like moms crying and stuff. I'm like, you know, nobody here deserves any recognition whatsoever.
And I'm like, do you guys know how easy this shit was?
I mean, there might be like one or maybe one or two kids. That's a strong maybe, like a hard maybe on that one. That like actually did excel. And, like, you know, they read like twice as much as they had to, and they're going to Harvard. You know.
I'd say it was like 3 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even that.
In Kearney, probably like 3 kids.
That's very
Harrison,
optimistic,
1.
but I don't know.
Like 5 kids in Harrison.
But yeah, so those kids maybe, but generally nobody there deserves an award, to be handed anything, or to get their hand shaken. They should be beaten, if anything. Maybe not beaten, but like high school is a joke, you know.
Yeah, I think it is.
It's just ridiculous that like, you know, people are like shitting their pants over that when it's like nobody
Especially-
deserves recognition.
Yeah, especially at my school too, where it's like the standards are just so insanely low. It's really crazy.
Like I don't know, like, you know, like one of the things I always saw was gym teachers. I feel like if you become a gym teacher, it must be because you're lazy, right? Because who the hell is passionate about being a gym teacher? I mean, is there exceptions? Maybe, but generally, do you think people really pursue that out of genuine interest?
Now that you mention it.
Yeah. Thinking about back on all your gym teachers, like,
Yeah. Now I kind of want to be a gym teacher.
Yeah.
Just make these kids like compete against each other.
that's
Like,
right.
attack each other.
I was like, even back then, it was hard to become a gym teacher because they didn't need any, because so many people wanted to be gym teachers.
Yeah.
And I feel like a big part of it is because people just don't want to work.
Yeah.
Because you don't do, like, as a gym teacher, you hardly do anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you like tell them, you explain the rules, and then you make sure nobody kills each. I'm sure it's annoying because kids are annoying, but like the technicality of what you do is like low, like dirt level low, you know?
yeah. I mean, yeah, no arguing with that. And then you just give a little test about like the rules of volleyball or soccer or something
Yeah.
like that. And,
Oh, you guys have tests for gym?
yeah.
Well, that's weird.
You have, and there's health too, though.
Oh yeah, health
And-
class.
and
That was
flag-
absolute bullshit.
We had that too.
The health was funny too. That was so funny because it's like I was sitting in like the gym teacher would do the health class in like the art room
Mm-hmm.
when like during my prep period. So sometimes like I would just be in there when you'd be doing the health class. Like, oh my god, this is so fucking crazy.
And in our senior year, we had a mental health class. Did you guys have that?
No, we were
Did you remember that?
Vaguely.
And another completely unrelated news. What do you guys think? Did you hear about that like gay cake crap?
I saw a picture. What do you mean gay cake?
Like gay cake controversy?
Was this the old gay cake for like somebody wanting
But-
a gay marriage cake and the guy
Yeah,
was like,
that.
nah.
But that's coming up. For some reason, they came up again. I was hearing about it. I don't know the exact details, but basically, some Christian person or Catholic person didn't want to bake a cake for a gay wedding because against his religion.
Yeah.
And some people are saying that, you know, he should be free to do that because of like the freedom that we have, although it's
Yeah.
fucked up. But then some people are saying, no, it's the same thing as when people wouldn't want to serve black people, like back in the day, you know? It's like, how can you, it's like, so how can you be okay with denying the gay people service, but you're saying that it's wrong for black people to be denied service, you know? Isn't it like,
But I don't think they're denying. It's like they're denying. I don't know.
isn't it
It's
the same
like
thing?
I'll make you a different cake, just not a gay cake. So I don't think it's like $1,000. It's like, okay, give me a regular like.
But you're denying them what they're requesting.
Yeah,
But
it's
listen-
like you do have that right as
A business owner.
a business owner, and then people have a right also to complain about it and then to boycott that business
But
and
do
then
you
let
think-
it suffer.
Do you think they have a right? But so, like, would they have a right to deny somebody service because they're black?
I mean, that's fucked up, But no, it's like you can't deny because they're black, for sure.
But
you know?
what is the difference?
But I don't think they're denying service because they're gay.
Right.
I think they're denying service for what's on the cake, and maybe it doesn't. It's like, okay, if you go to a Muslim bake shop, super hardcore Muslim, and you have like a pig on it, getting cut. Can you make a pig with a pig getting chopped in half?
Yeah.
Or some shit, or whatever Muslims don't like. And they're
like
nah.
give me a sheet cake with the portrait of Muhammad on it.
Yeah. And they say no, and it's like, oh, they're refusing service.
Yeah,
'cause- And then
Right.
they wouldn't do that to the Muslims, I'm pretty sure.
Right, because there's an absurd double standard with Islam, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, it's still.
No.
But aside from that, like, you don't think it should be legal for them to deny gay service?
I feel it's okay to deny any service you want, in a sense, as long. It's tricky. I
I
think
don't know.
it gets a little tricky, but you should, as somebody who has to deal with customers,
With gay customers?
I feel, I
I
feel
feel
like
like
you should have the right
to print all those people butt fucking on that shit.
Yeah, I wish I could tell. I had like some really gay shit that we had to print, and it's like not that we didn't care, but it's a little weird sometimes. But I don't know. It's like you should have the right to deny any service.
So even if somebody is black, you should be able to say, "I'm not gonna serve you because you're black and I don't like you." You should be able to. Do
No, but you should have a better reason than you look a certain way. I think like that's messed up. Or if somebody comes in and they're gay, you deny them. But
that. Right.
I don't know, like what was on the cake? What do they want on the cake? Like two dudes butt fucking,
Or
No,
just
I
like,
don't-
or they just want happy birthday and the rainbow on?
I don't know the
what I mean?
specific detail, but I guess something that I think it's something that clearly signifies like gay people getting like a gay symbol. Maybe I don't
Yeah,
think
so
anything.
it's
I don't
like
think
two
anything.
cakes, like one was a penis and
No.
the other was a butt.
I don't think anything overly perverted.
But if somebody's like really uncomfortable with that, it's fucked up because people have their morals, and it's like, what are we to like tell somebody's morals that they're wrong, even though it's like I feel like they're wrong.
But like, so what's the difference between like the denying black people service and denying the gay person service? Just the technicality that it's not a very specific service that they want.
I think it's based on the content of the cake, not the color of the person. Like if a black person went in and asked for something,
Right.
and he's like, "No, because you're black,"
Right.
like that's fucked up.
Okay.
Or a black person came in and he's like, "I want this black power thing." There's like the fist and
Right.
a bunch of militant looking stuff and like that weird Islam shit, like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had on my shirt the other day, and the guy's like, "I don't know, this feels a bit weird." Like I feel like even then there's like a little bit of a right, just like if a white person goes into a black cake shop and is like, "Can I get like this cake made up?" and it kind of looks like a Klansman a little bit, or
Right.
something, or there's some like imagery that is not quite sitting right with you, and it's like, then-
Right, but you could argue that like those images are objectively wrong. Let's say, right? Like it's wrong to be.
It's
in the
wrong
gay
for
thing.
two gay people to fuck each other.
Right, but
In that person's mind, I don't believe that, but
Right.
like in their mind, they're really
Right, but
hardcore
couldn't
about
you
that.
say like the gay people are not like the KKK is actually doing something wrong aside from what those specific people believe? So what actually right should be done, regardless of how like demented person thinks.
That's true. I was trying not to use KKK. That's objectively bad. I was trying to think of something a bit more mellow.
Something a little more.
Right, I couldn't think of it.
But it is. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of like on the fence too because part of me thought like originally that if you're religious, I guess you should be allowed to deny that. Like, who cares that much because it's just a cake anyway.
Yeah.
But then I thought like like what really is the difference between denying a gay person what they want and then saying a black? I mean, I'm not serving you because you're black.
Yeah.
So,
I guess
like-
it is like a slippery slope. kind of thing.
What do you think?
I think that you should. I think that you should let the market decide, and that if somebody even wants to be as extreme and say like, "I'm not going to serve black people," they should be free to do that, and the market will deal with them. You know,
So
I
you
guess
think all that should be legal to do?
yeah, because it's like if you want to do that, that's fine. But what's going to happen is like people are going to hear about what you did, and no one's going to go to your fucking business, and you're not going to be in business very
Very
long.
racist would. It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
the black.
yeah.
And they got
That's crazy.
North versus South.
But this
thing,
is
man.
the thing.
Do you want to curb that, you know, or do you want to let it like rile up to like
But-
we start having cake wars, you know?
That I don't know. I feel like
change
there's
during
a-
the cake war.
Civil cake war.
LA on fire. But I think like you should just let the market decide. And like,
But do you think it's morally wrong
do I think it's morally wrong
to deny somebody because they're gay, deny them what they want, like
Of
their
course. Of course it is, but like no, I shouldn't say of course because it's like for people with their ideas, it's like who's to say whose ideas are really better, you know? It's just like ideas become popular and that's it. And then certain ideas become popular and certain ideas go out of style. And it's like the ideas are always changing and I understand that like people's well-being are based on these things and that's fine. And like people are always evolving in these ways, you know? So it's like there's always going to be like new ideas that like take the place of the old ideas and things are always going to be changing, you know?
Right, but don't you think like it's true that things change, and but like I say, who's to say? In some cases, like I think you can say who's to say, but in some cases, I feel like clearly we know the answer. You know, like is it wrong to kill black people? Well, who's to say? You know, like
Right.
You know,
But this is the thing. It's like at one point, like killing people was a very common thing. Like
Right.
people killed each other all the fucking time. People enslaved other people all the time.
Right.
Not just like white people enslaving black people, but you know everybody enslaving everybody. You just go out, kill, conquer, and enslave. You know.
Okay.
And nowadays it's like, well, we don't do that anymore.
Right.
Because of Christianity in a large way. It's because Christianity like developed this sense of like the individual having the divine, like every person is imbued with like a divine spirit, you know, like that's a Christian idea. And now it's like, well, now we're at the point where it's like, now the Christian ideas are the oppressive ones, but we forget that Christianity liberated people from this kind of like barbarism.
Okay.
And so now we're in this new epoch where it's like, okay, well, we have to throw off like new shackles of oppression, liberate more people. And that's just like part of the evolution, you know?
Okay.
And that'll continue. And then we're going to, you know, then soon it'll be like, you know, maybe as soon as we come out with new meat, you know, killing and mistreating animals will be seen as equally a horrendous act as things that we did in the past that are now viewed as horrendous. You know, consciousness is evolving and our humanity is evolving. And so it's like in some time, you know, there's probably a lot of things we're going to look back on and just people are going to cringe when they look at things that we accept completely today.
Okay.
You know, and yes, looking back, it's like it's clearly wrong to deny black people service. It's clearly wrong to deny gay people service and stuff like that. But there are still people doing it, and for me, the case is this: it's like it's the difference between forcing something underground and bringing it out into the light. You know, and when you force things underground, I feel like they're more dangerous than if you're open about it. And so in the case of these people that want to deny service, it's like, well, at least everybody knows where they stand, you know, versus like other things where it's like that stuff is festering underground. It's like, look, this guy doesn't want to give us the cake because we're gay. Fuck him. Go somewhere else. Like, I don't know why it's such a big deal. If that person wants to be an asshole and not give the service, it's just like, they should just let them do that. Why are you going to get angry about it? What are you going to do? Force them to do it? And then it's like, is that better? Is that going to make your cake better that you force this person that doesn't like gay people to make a cake for gay people? It's like, no, just fuck them and you go do something else.
It's strange because I think, you know, you're saying like at the market side, and especially after listening to Peter Schiff talk, I kind of like got enamored with those ideas. But I think, you know, is the market enough to, you know, have those reins on things? You know, like let's say, like how off the hinges would things go if, you know, just the market decides? You know, or like 90% is the market decides, you know?
Yeah.
Like the government holding people back is oppressive, but I mean, like, how much can we like lessen that grip that the government has without everything falling apart and like the powerful just completely crushing everyone, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a good point. And I mean, I think in a big case, it's like already, since all time, it's like, the government regulation is like always just been something like the main function of business seems in a lot of ways just getting around like the government restriction, right? Because it's like if there's like this kind of like final barrier of like the government restriction and the restriction of the law, it's like, well, if you can get one up on that, then like you're totally on another level in terms of like you versus the competition. So it's like there's like a kind of metagame of business that involves like breaking the law like appropriately.
But do you guys think we can? It's good that there's so much government like holding people back, like or do you think that like, the market could decide more of that?
I feel like the fact of the matter is that it's like there are people that like break that system anyway.
Right, but aside from that, because obviously it does hold back a lot,
But is it really holding back the appropriate things? Like, to me, it's like my kind of gut reaction is like, it seems more like it holds back the people who aren't powerful enough to like defy the law, So it's like, it holds back like the guy that's like the level down, whereas like the top tier people, like the top finance companies and things like that, it's like, they're so in bed with the politicians anyway that it's like, what is really their regulation like? And I guess it's like you could argue that, well, that regulation doesn't really work. We need to bring in like people that are going to do it properly, but the system itself is so corrupted that it's like, I don't think the regulation isn't really like happening, it seems like, in the right ways. Although business owners would probably like freak out if they heard me saying that, because they do like pay a lot in different things, but.
So you're saying you're up for like regulating like everything, or to what point?
No, I'm not an anarcho-capitalist, but I think like we should start with sectors that like should not be privatized. I think there are some things that should be privatized and some things that shouldn't be privatized. Like healthcare and education, I feel like those like you should have very, very strong public options for those things. Those things should be like
so the government should control that.
Yeah, and the thing is also that it should be like quality though. It needs like the quality of it needs to be greatly improved. Or at least like the option that the government provides in those cases should be like as good as like a really strong private option, Because usually it's like the public thing, like the government issued, is usually like the worst generic thing. Mm-hmm. And this goes back to the Peter Schiff thing. And, I'm sure there are counter arguments to this line of thinking that I don't remember, but like Peter Schiff says, like, imagine it like if you had to get your phone from the government, like what would it be like,
Right.
And he was talking about like, like how great the iPhone is and how great like cell phones are. And that like, if you wanted a telephone from the government, like it would take forever. It wouldn't be that good.
Yeah.
Because the marketplace does create like great products, and great services. So I don't know. But the government, it needs to be more competitive when it provides things, but it can't, I guess, because the bureaucratic glut of, waste is just too much.
Because there's too many people too that's why it's hard too. Because the like Apple doesn't have to serve like the whole country. Like they serve like a specific clientele in a way. Like people who can like they're not obligated to extend an iPhone to everyone. Somehow everybody has to have an iPhone. Like they don't have to play that game.
That's true. That's true. Because I guess that's the process. It's like once you say like, okay, this has to work for anybody and everybody.
I mean, if everybody in the country is forced to pay Apple X amount from their paycheck every time they get paid, maybe they could though.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like we're not constantly paying Apple money every fucking for every dollar we make.
That's a really good point too. I don't give Apple money like that, but every time I earn $1 on anything.
But why do you think the government should? So education and healthcare. Why would you say like leave that with the government?
Because those are things that people really need, It's like everything else, I feel like those are necessities, Those are real necessities, and people's like lives depend on it.
So you don't think the market could do that better?
Well, apparently with healthcare, it can't, because we have like pretty much a private healthcare system now, and it sucks. And like people, in general, it's like, I know that now the government like does like the since the Affordable Health Care Act, but I don't think like it's really much of an improvement.
I think actually healthcare is amazing in this country. You just have to afford it. That's the problem. People come here all the time for treatments and stuff.
Yeah, you mean like the services themselves?
Yeah, we have like we have like some of the most like top tier doctors and facilities and all that shit.
Yeah.
Just you can't afford it.
But do you think the government should control that still? You think they would always they would do better than like if it's just a market controlled healthcare? You think that's just we can't trust the market to do that?
Well, I mean, if you look at other countries, you would assume that, you know, the government could do a little bit of a better job than, you know, a bunch of people, you know, trying to compete to get more money, you know, artificially inflating prices and all these sorts of things that you could do when you're a private company
I was thinking
versus going to like Canada and just, you know, oh, you're hurt, just go to the doctor and, you know, that'll be taken care of.
I think like I don't know the answer to that honestly, but I think like one of the arguments would be that, you know, you would like here, like we're saying, I guess, yeah, private healthcare is really expensive, right? And even with like discounts through jobs, and even, you know, discounts through jobs, even it can still be expensive, you know, and like straight from the government, if you're poor enough to actually get that help, that is really cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so like they will save you when you need to, you know. But the thing is that I think what could be argued is that, you know, we say, okay, so private is so expensive. Clearly, it doesn't work here, as we can know. Like people, you know, most people couldn't afford to have private healthcare. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, like those people, the private people providing it would argue, like, well, it would be cheap. Like if we were allowed to do what we actually needed to do, and the government didn't in that way, then it would be better. Like they're blocking them from doing what they need. The government is blocking those people from doing what they want to do, you know? So, like, if they didn't get in the way, like, what would private healthcare really be like, you know?
Right.
So, like, I don't know. But then again, like...
I think it could become like a monopoly. Just look at internet providers and how expensive it is to get, you know, internet. And then you look at other countries and how cheap internet is, and how fast it can be.
You think people would just go off the hinges with, like, their greed and everything?
Yeah, I think greed gets the best of you. That's why I think it is good to have, you know, in the perfect world, the government, you know, in the perfect world, we could just all be communists in the perfect world. But that's never going to happen because humans aren't perfect.
Yeah.
But I think it would be great if government could take care of health, because also the problem here is health is expensive, so you don't go to the doctor, you avoid it. Just like your mother-in-law.
Yeah.
You know, her foot's been fucked up for 4 weeks, but she's not going to a doctor. You know, that's ridiculous, you know. People aren't programmed to go to the doctor because it's a chore and then you got to pay for it. You can't even take a day off work to go to the doctor or anything like that. It's all these, like, things that have built up because of, you know, how things are made. And it just creates, like, this negative cycle. So it creates unhealthy people, because people don't want to go to the doctor. And by the time it's like last resort, they go. And by then, all these things have accumulated. And now, instead of fixing like a small problem from the beginning, you have like this big problem that you have to fix. And now it's an even bigger drain on the system on top of it. So it's like all these small problems that we could fix slightly easier, we just let go until there are these big craters that you have to fill up, and then by then it's even more money to like fill that up. So it's like you're just kind of like, it's like pushing shit off to the side. That's like what the climate's like.
Yeah, I think that it's hard to say if that's more of like an inherent human disease, or is more like that people act that way specifically when it comes to health because of that, you know? I
think it's more here because people in other countries, just like when they feel ill, they just go to the doctor and that's it. And then they get checked out, and if they're in and out, they get something, and then that's it. They'll take a day off work and they get paid for it, and then it's like...
I'm tempted to agree that the government should regulate, and I don't think it can be like fully free, you know? Yeah. And especially in like...
No, that's where it should come out of your taxes. You know?
Yeah, so because I feel like people really are people get like instantly corrupted almost, you know. Mm-hmm. And I think that, you know, if like the really powerful were allowed to just do their things all privately, you know. Yeah, like I think it would fly off the hinges. Who knows what the hell would happen, you know? Like maybe they would even eventually like overthrow the government or something, you know. Like who knows? You know.
Well, I feel like they have already, you know, in a big way. It's like
in a way, yeah, but you know, like. They still get cock blocked, you know? Like, what if, like, you know, I'm sure they have stuff where they get frustrated, like, oh, the government, he's not giving in on this one, you know? Let's say in this deal, or like, they're not gonna, like, Washington is not budging on this one, that's it, you know? Like, I'm sure that happens too. Like, if there wasn't any of that, you know? It would be maybe, although I agree it's obviously corrupt, it would be maybe even corrupt to the point that things, like, fall apart, you know?
Yeah. But that's, I think, all right, here's my dystopian view of things. It's like the powerful industries like control everything like so directly, and I feel like a lot of times it's like it's about like disguising like the intention, you know.
Oh yeah.
It's about like if the oppression was so overt and obvious, then like people would push back more, you know. But again, it's like it's not about like putting handcuffs on people. It's about like giving them good TV to watch and good snack foods to eat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like that's like a better. And it's not, and I don't think it's a question of like nefarious people that are trying to do this. I think it's just like through a series of strategies to like get people to buy product. It's just like, it's just a reflection of like that thought process where it's like, okay, well, how do we get people to buy more of this? And it's like by trying to make our products like more and more appealing, which we have. And I mean like businesses making their products more appealing. It's like, well, the result of that is like now people are obese because they can't stop eating these delicious products. And now people have poor health because they don't get up and exercise because it's more entertaining to watch TV and things like that. And it's like, it was never the intention to do that to people, but that's just like the results when you give people the most stimulating, salty, addictive media and food to consume. It's like, well, that you get fat Americans.
But didn't the market do that?
The market did that.
But so you don't think like powerful people directly try to distract the population, or you think it's just like it happens more organically?
I think like I think a lot of times it does happen more organically, and then of course like the people at the top are being very deceitful, and they're always working in the interest of the company, you know.
Right.
They're not working in the interest of like the general public. Like they're not thinking like what would be best for most people. They're like, how far can I push this before it breaks? You know, how far can I go? How many liberties can I take? You know, it's like how much lawsuit can we afford to get? You know, which is like budgeted into the thing. It's like, okay, it's like that. If that's part of your thing, it's like we're gonna get. It's not if, but when we're gonna get sued, and you're accounting for that in your budgeting. And the fact of the matter is that it's like after a big lawsuit, it's like actually a good thing. Because it's like a market correction where it's like, oh, we just got sued. So it's like, we're probably not going to get sued for another couple months. So it's like, all right, let the good times roll. It's like, we're going to ratchet it up again, you know, and it's like repeating that process. So it's like, it goes back to like the same thing. It's like, you know, there's the way that things are written out, like the rules are written on paper. And then like the way the game is played is completely different than that, you know?
There's like, it's all like under the radar.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just like, that's the thing, like people's true intentions, I don't think they're always evil, but like they're always primarily self-interested, I think.
Yeah.
And I guess rarely, like they are evil, rarely, you know? And I think that's the issue, like under the radar, because most people are operating this under the radar way, including myself, you know?
Right.
But then, like on the level that we're on, you know, it doesn't affect society that much, you know? But when these people do, it's just like, it changes the world, you know?
Yeah. And that's the kind of thing, though, it's like, when I thought about like businesses in the past, I was like, man, you know, these are like evil people. But it's like, if you look at the course of history, it's like there have always been those who are the dominators.
Yeah.
And those who are just like the peons, you know? And it's like whether it's taken a lot of different shapes and forms over like human history. But like you always see this pattern of like centralized power, you know, whether it's a empire, whether it's like monarchy, whether it's the Catholic Church, whether it's business and industry.
Yeah, they're always organized in that way.
There has always been like the most ambitious people in society are the ones that seek to hold the most power. And it's like that is a particular thing that attracts and is the game that like the highest level of people try to play. It's like the people at the very top of everything, where it's like they dominate like vastly over the rest of us, you know. And that's always been a small minority of people. And it's like you can say it's like business people, but it's not business, you know. There's always been a form of this throughout all history.
It's a multiplicity. It's like multiple people in different fields, you know.
Yeah, often associated with money, usually. You know, because money is just such, you know, money is power. It's just that's simple, you know, in a big way. It's like money is the power to do things. So it's always connected to money in some way.
Yeah. that's the thing. I think like like the evil businessman thing, especially. Obviously, I'm more biased now, but like I don't feel like businessmen are any more evil than anyone else. Really, like they're not any worse people. It seems than like I don't know, like a teacher, like or something. I don't know. It's hard to say that like a teacher is more noble than a businessman in a way because I don't necessarily think that a teacher is generally a better person inherently.
Right.
They're just maybe like it could be that somebody who actually pursues teaching, let's say, there might be some of the I would assume a minority who actually love it, right? Or actually like believe in education somehow. But there's like the majority is probably like a lot of them either right off the bat or sooner than later they're just trying to get paid, like they just want to like get by.
Mm-hmm.
And like and then maybe for whatever reason they don't have the ability to climb, the ladder, and then they become resentful of the people who have more, and suddenly the businessman is evil, But the businessman, like maybe like they were in a better situation than you, they're smarter than you,
more ambitious,
so they got all these things, that you would have done just as well if you had those opportunities, But so you're just like kind of like making up this. You're creating this boogeyman when like really you have the same tendencies he does. He's just better than you.
Yeah, it reminds me of something Nietzsche said, where Nietzsche was like, most people aren't moral. Most people are just weak and cowardly.
Exactly.
It's like you act morally not because
you're actually moral. You're a coward.
But because you don't have the like
exactly
the strength to do the immoral thing. Exactly. It's like you're just an axe murderer without an axe.
Exactly.
But you given the power to do it, like you wouldn't be moral. Like if you could do it and get away with it.
Right.
The reason you don't do it is because you know you won't get away with it.
Right. And also like even like, not to shit on teachers, but any profession, like let me give you $1 million, let me see, or like let me give you $10 million, let me see if you still stay there, let me see how much you love it now, you probably get the hell out of there instantly.
And then not even that, but it's like, A, you would get the hell out, and then B, it's like you would probably lose the $10 million.
Yeah, because you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, and then it's like C, it's like, you probably, who knows what would happen.
I think that hating on the powerful in part is like, a lot of it I think is like your frustration with not being one of them.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
Like like I'm giving you a mansion for free, no strings attached. You're gonna say no,
Yeah.
So it's just like it's bullshit in a lot of ways, of course. But the powerful people are corrupt, It just like again they become more corrupted because they have a lot more than you,
Yeah, and they're operating on a different level, where it's like. They have limitations too, but they're not your limitations.
Yeah.
Like, your limitations are concerned with like making sure your boss doesn't yell at you when you show up 5 minutes late. Like their limitation is like, how can I get this congressman to bend to my will so I can open up a new $1 billion market for myself?
Yeah.
It's like it's a different game they're playing altogether.
Yeah.
That doesn't that's like they're playing by a different set of rules that has little to do with like the rules that we follow on like a day-to-day basis. And I guess we can't understand that because we're not part of that world.
But it's still trying to get yours. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
You take an extra 5 minutes on your break.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you take an extra tea back from
exactly.
Quick Check.
Exactly.
Like, nobody's gonna do it. It's like, I deserve this, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
and you take a pen from TD Bank and you do all this like, I could deserve it.
And it's true.
You do that shit all the time. Everybody does that shit.
Yeah,
and they do it too, but they're doing it on a bigger level. So
Yeah.
they're like, oh, boo-poo. It's like, I only took a pen, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Because you didn't have the chance to.
Yes, give it a chance. And that's the thing too. It's like, I know I've felt this way. It's like whenever I've been at work and I felt like underappreciated or undervalued, it's like
you want to take something.
I almost like consciously like turn down my performance because it's like, I'm not going like all out for you, because this is like, I'm not
deserve it.
Or it's like, okay, now I'm going to be lazy and I'm going to fuck around a little bit,
It's confusing because people's like that's another frustrating thing about work in general. Like people's different levels, like they're interested in the job in a different way. So it's like hard because like the employees are rarely or pretty much never gonna match like the owner's enthusiasm. Or something gets fucked up. Like sometimes something gets fucked up on my job and like for a customer, obviously I try to help them, but I don't really care. Like I don't care that you didn't get your money really.
Right.
I'm not losing sleep over that.
Yeah.
But if it was my money, I would be calling and yelling at you. Probably.
I know you would.
So like that's how it is. When it's you, it's like, oh, now we need, oh, people have to help me. Oh, why is the system so bad? But when somebody else, oh, it's not a big. Everybody like when it's their problem is a big deal. When it's somebody else's, oh, you're overreacting. Just be relax.
Have you tried rewinding?
There's like this like absurd like bias, obviously, that you have on yourself. You
That's
know?
very true. That's very true.
You know, it's just like, yeah, your life is the most important, but everybody else, you know, they should just, you know, calm down.
That's an important way to conduct yourself. Yeah, but there is a sort of hypocrisy about like the way people judge those.
Yeah.
And not that I'm saying it's okay, but it's certainly natural, so to speak. You know,
Yeah.
just as it's natural to be fearful of like people that are different from you. You know?
Yeah.
It's like no one wants to hear that one either.
Exactly.
Or it's like
I tried to push that one, but it didn't work out.
this is a crazy thing, but I was like talking to the students, right? And this is in my social justice school, and I was talking to them about discrimination.
Right.
But I was like, discrimination is a good thing, and they were like, what? And I'm like, you discriminate all the time. I'm like, think about the word discrimination. To discriminate means to choose between things.
Right.
It's to say that this is a better thing than that thing.
Right.
You know, it's like that's the true meaning of discrimination. And it's like, but you discriminate all the time, and you do it naturally. As soon as you see things, like you discriminate, you know, like in your gut, like that's good, that's bad, that's what I want, that's what I don't. And it's like, it's senseless to pretend that you don't do that. You know, it's like, why would you pretend that you're this perfect person that doesn't like, that sees all, like the Buddha, that sees things all equally? It's like, you don't see them that way, and you should start investigating the way you see the world, because maybe you could refine that lens of discrimination.
What do they say?
They didn't, I don't think they quite understood what I was going for.
Yeah, I think that's like a little too high level for them. But that's like, that's exactly that. And the thing is that people, I think, I've been guilty of this too, like you judge other people based on the standards that you're bound by, you know, like we're talking about judging the rich person.
I like that.
Like he doesn't have your life, you know, he's not limited how you are, like you were saying too, you know, like, yeah, so that's like that, although a very unfair thing that everybody does is like, how could he be doing that? You know, I wouldn't. Yeah, you wouldn't do that in a situation that you're in. You have no idea like what he's dealing with, you know?
Right.
So it's just like, yeah, there's so much like nonsense and double standard and just like blindness to other people's experience, you know?
And that's the point. It's like, this is what I don't get. It's like people would rather like mince words and complain about these things. It goes back to the fucking cake thing. It's like everybody wants to like
bake a cake,
complain about this shit. And it's like, look, yeah, it's a problem, but it's like, you complainers, like these people don't really care about solutions. I swear it, you know? And maybe this is, again, like just what you're saying, but I'll just speak my mind here. It's like, these people are full of shit in a big way. And you've said this too. It's like, again, it's like, these gay people don't need protecting. They don't need you to help them.
Yeah.
They don't need you to complain. They don't need you to protest, you know? That battle has like been fought and won. And if like one backwards fool wants to like refuse, there are so many other places these people can go and get their cake. But yet, like we're discussing it like it's a serious issue.
Right,
still.
there's an absurdity to it.
It's not, you know, it's not a big fucking deal. It's like if, you know, I don't know. I don't need to give any example, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like, it's
yeah.
not for real. It's not serious. It's like people are complaining. It's like, well, just do something different. There are many more options. There's many ways to like solve this problem. And it's like you're offended because you encountered a person that you feel like is prehistoric in their thinking. It's like, but what a waste of time. It's like 90% of the society fully accepts, embraces, and would work with you in a second, you know?
Yeah, there is an absurdity there, definitely.
And it's like people want to complain, but it's like, just move, just ascend. Don't talk, just ascend to the higher plane of like...
Well, you want the nice witch hunt, the mob, you know. At the end of the day, you just want to like fuck shit up. Like,
it's moral signaling. That's all it is, you know.
Yeah,
it's all it is. These people like...
It's like peacocking.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
I felt the way I like us. If you notice, when you know, there's like, you know, you're supposed to be outraged every week by the new thing, you know, but like really the people who say a lot of things about this or whatever, they, you know, generally people don't do anything to help others.
Exactly.
And it's just like they go from one outrage to the other. Like you didn't even begin actually acting on what you're outraged about, but now it's time to be outraged about something else, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just like nothing is getting done. It's just like some like sick form of like entertainment, you know?
It is. That's the point.
Yeah.
It is. That's such a good way. It is entertainment. That's what people need to realize. It's like, oh, it's entertainment. It is. Because, yeah, if it was real, you would really do something.
Yeah,
Other than, like, signing, like, a thing on Facebook or something like that. You know, like, you would get out and do it. You would get out and change the world.
Or figure out how to begin, at least. Act in some way, yeah.
At least you'd go and beat that guy up or something like that. Or throw a brick through his window, you know?
Yeah, I was kind of nailing... That sounds wrong. I was kind of putting Maria's feet to the fire about something because we were talking about
Oh
like
yeah, I'm glad you changed that terminology. It's like a different story.
the immigration thing that, you know, I don't know if you guys heard about another thing to be outraged about, supposedly.
Outrage hour.
Although it is, you know, it is, obviously there's truth to these things can be fucked up in a way, you know, but yeah, like if you're not acting, you don't really have a leg to stand on, I think.
Yeah.
So I think that, like, they were saying that people are coming illegally now at the border, there was a zero tolerance policy that apparently just got changed, but for a while apparently, like, parents were coming here illegally with their kids, and then now under Trump, like, he was separating them. Did you hear about this?
Yeah. Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah, so like something like that. You heard about this vaguely?
Yeah.
So I don't know like the exact details, but more or less, like, apparently the parents were being put in one cell, and the kids had like their own set of cells or set of in whatever place it was, you know. And I don't know the exact reasons to why they were doing that, just to be an asshole to deter people. Maybe that was some of it, or who knows what the hell the reasons were. But people were like, "How could you do that? How could you separate people?" You know. And I was telling Maria's like, you don't really care about it. She's like, you know, they should like just let people, like, she was kind of saying they should just like let them in, or not as much as that, but she was saying it should be a lot easier to come to America, you know. But that's kind of I mean, maybe you could argue that, you know, but at the same time, I told her, like, you don't really care about these immigrants, like, you know, like, what do you like? You will take a luxury. You will buy yourself something luxurious before you save somebody's life. Like, you could save somebody's life, but no, you'll buy yourself a $4,000 flute, you know. And it's just like you truly don't care enough about these people to actually act, you know. And like, you're now doing this thing that most people do, and I've been guilty of too. Like, you act as if you care. Oh, how could he do this? But like, you don't really care, you know, and you just don't, you know. And then she was saying that, well, she does feel bad for them, but like, it's not her responsibility to do that, you know. And I'm like again, like, it's just more proof that you don't care. Like, if you really care, then like, you see the problem, you have to willingly take that responsibility. Then that would be caring, you know. There's a big problem. This is terrible, and if it's so terrible in your view, then you must decide to take the responsibility. You know, not be like, oh, that's not my job. You know, like, I work at least, oh, that's not my job, I don't care. No, you push as hard as you can, even if you make it your job. You know,
exactly.
So I mean, like, and that would mean caring about those people, because that's what it would be required to help them. And if it's really wrong to do that to people at the border, let's say 100%, that's unacceptable. Let's say no, without a doubt, which maybe it is. You know. Then that's what those people need to get the help. You know, maybe they each one needs $1,000, let's say. Well, you have to give them $1,000, and you have to go over there, and you have to go protest, and you have to send letters to the mayor, and you have to schedule a meeting with the secretary. That's what you do, you know?
Right. Then I'll believe you care.
Yeah.
Then you care.
Eventually, she's like, I don't like how you're saying this, but I'm like, that basically means like, you know, you have nothing to say.
Yeah.
But am I out of line?
No, I've always agreed with that. You were the first person who you've shared this idea before, and
right.
You kind of woke me up with that too, because I used to be very like outraged with things, and it's just like, I just realized, like you were saying, like how much BS is involved with that with people, where it's like, and this is a Jordan B. Peterson idea, but rights and responsibilities go together.
Mm-hmm.
People want rights to things, you know, but once you have rights, you need to protect those, and that requires action. You know, it's like, you want the right to do this. Well, it's like, well, now if somebody doesn't do that properly or appropriately, who will stand up? Right. And say and do what needs to be done to secure the right for the person. You know, it's like, you have to think about that. Like, everybody wants to say like, oh yes, you know, don't do that. Right. But then it's like, okay, well,
like, where are you then?
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's like, all right, I don't see you like doing it. You know, it's like, anybody can say that. Like, it would be nice, but it's like, no, you don't understand, like, that making that a reality is work.
Right. What do you think, Eric? Do you think that's fair to say?
To which?
Like
to what you said to her? Or?
Yeah, like, if it's just, well, or more in general, that it's just, if you're not really acting realistically, you probably don't really care that much.
Yeah, you could have an opinion on something.
Right.
But do you ultimately care? Or do you care enough to act? You know, I think there's different thresholds, you know? Right.
It's not like you're thrilled, but it's like you're not.
No,
like,
it's like
you can't say you care.
I would rather, you know, it's like, yeah, you came here illegally, you know, that's cool, you know. I mean, it's not cool. I mean, like, you came here illegally, whatever, you brought your kids, you know, maybe that's not the smartest thing to do,
right? It's pretty,
you know. Yeah. So law-wise, you know, you're doing an illegal thing, But then, like, morally wise, I'm like, that's kind of shitty. Like, separate them. That's not helping anything. So it's like, but then again, it's like I don't care that much to do anything about it.
Right. So you would agree that you don't care that much.
Honestly, no. It doesn't. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect me directly. I'm going to be honest and just say it.
I mean,
dude, there's so much stuff in the world. It's like we have so much connectivity. You can just go out and just blindly like poke around, and you'll find something to be mad about. Something to really be mad about.
Yeah.
There's so many world issues that we can be mad about, like all the time. And it's like I don't want to be mad at shit all the time. That's a lot of heaviness. I can. If something's affecting me closely, then I'll take action. But if it's not affecting me, I'm not going to take action.
And I think
not enough time for that.
Yeah, and I think that's like the reality that most of us operate with. But then like there is like Maria was saying yesterday, I think she was like taking this stance where it's just not legitimate. Like you're not you don't care. You don't care sufficiently.
I think people also like being like outraged.
Yeah,
I think we've talked about this, but yesterday I was talking to Moesha.
Yeah.
And she was saying she was bringing up her story, but one of her coworkers decided, like her and her boyfriend were gonna watch something to get outraged at. They wanted to watch
They purposely decided that?
Yeah. They wanted to watch something that was, an issue so they could be mad at something.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was like.
That's pretty bizarre.
Before like she even got all the way through the story, I was like, what are these people like? They just want to get mad at something? Because what wound up, they watched this thing about some company that was polluting, just to get mad at this company, and then it wound up being like 15 minutes away from where they live. So now she's actually it's like you want to get recreationally mad. Now she's like actually like a little mad because it's affecting her. So she's it's about Ford, the company Ford.
Okay.
They did some illegal dumping on like Indian like areas, and they never cleaned it up. It's been there for like this toxic waste space, and it's been there for like ever and ever.
So now they're actually gonna do something?
I mean, they're talking shit about Ford. I guess that's
That's a kind of happy ending to that story.
Yeah,
because it was really perverted there for a second.
Yeah, but it was. It's like, okay, the outcome now is like kind of good, but it's like it feels kind of perverse. You want to watch something just to get mad.
Well, it goes back,
and then you jerk each other off, and you come like and then you just go on and you go consume something else. And
it's a new form of entertainment.
Yeah,
it really is. It can't be described as anything other than entertainment.
But in this case,
outrage porn. Yes.
In this case, they're actually going to do something though.
If they do,
I mean, that's great. I don't know that much into the story. I was too busy ripping on them.
Yeah,
but
what does Moesha think about that?
I think she's more with how Maria is, that kind of thing.
Like fake outrage?
Yeah. And I was kind of like bashing her. Because she's like that. She's very like outraged about stuff. She went to that women's march and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And she's very like kind
I'm sure she's very
politically conscious.
I'm sure she's very oppressed.
But that's a very white girl thing, you know. Have the leisure to be.
I couldn't imagine her level of oppression. Yeah.
Part-time mad at other people. While other people are suffering.
Yeah.
I think, and I've said this before, it's like, I think that is like the strategy though that you should do. It's like, you should focus on things that affect, like, even if it is like, let's say it's the immigration thing. It's like, if I wanted to like do something about immigration, it's like, instead of getting all upset about like what's going on like in the Mexican border, like what might be better for me to do would be like go to Newark, go to Ironbound, and like where there's like a strong like immigrant community, go to an immigrant community and think of like, okay, well within this community, it's like where can I be of assistance locally? You know, it's like, what can I do on a small level that would like work towards this?
Right, that would be actually doing something.
And then like going and like, okay, well, it's like, all right, so I'm a lawyer and I'm going to donate some of my time to help people file paperwork that would help them to like, you know,
right. Then you could
get through
it. Then you have room to talk.
Or yeah, like things like that, you know, and it's like, instead of just being, it's kind of funny, right? But I've heard in my like recent like stock market research that it's like, don't trade the news, because it's like the news, just like the market itself, is so inflated, and it's like by the time like everybody has read the headline that influences the market, like it's distorted the effect of that to the point, because it's like, all right, well now everybody is like doing this, so it's like you're on the back end of it. You know, you're not actually going to benefit from like whatever the occurrence is. You know, it's like everyone is like already like on that boat, so it doesn't make sense. It's not like a hot pick anymore. It's not like a good thing because
you have to catch it before it.
Yeah, and it's like if you want to like get ahead of that stuff, what you have to do is like you have to look at like the raw like realities of the company, let's say, that you want to invest in.
Right.
And you have to like see that coming. You have to like look at the reality of the landscape and not the news story.
Right, that's all like sensation and bullshit.
Yeah, by the time it's at that, by the time it gets like distilled into news, like it's over. It's like it's so removed from reality at that point, you know? You have to like find an entry point at like a very realistic level.
Yeah, I think like I don't know, especially like privileged Americans complaining about the things and doing nothing. I feel like that's like especially egregious.
Right.
Then like you have no idea what it's like to be an immigrant, nor will you ever. And of course, I don't think you should be penalized for that because also you didn't ask to be born into a decent situation, you know? Like that's just like by chance or luck or whatever, you know? So like I don't think you should be hated on for having a better life than people who are like starving in Mexico or whatever, you know? But at the same time, like you have no idea, especially with people who don't really do proper research, like you have no idea what you're talking about and you can't relate in any way. Like what are you talking about, you know? So it's like so ridiculous.
There's also like the risk. It's not like these people don't know what they're getting into, you know? Like, like I was telling my parents went into Canada illegally. Like they knew what they were doing. They knew like the consequences of what they were trying to do, and they got like banned from going back. You know, like that's.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that stuff happening. Yeah.
You know, so not banned, but they're like you can't come in legally.
So you're banned.
Yeah. So it's like we could have just stayed there illegally, and it's like that would have been its own set of consequences. It's like you can't just pretend to be like, oh, I didn't, I thought I was just going to come here and have a better life. It's like, no, you took a fucking risk, you know?
Yeah,
like
right.
A huge risk where it's like, if it works, it'll pay off big, but otherwise it's going to suck.
That's why, and you have kids too, and, I'm sure it's not like this, but it's like, do you bring the kids for sympathy points too?
Yeah.
Like, that's a kind of bargaining chip, you know?
Yeah, because...
I think they'd probably do in part.
From my immigration experiences from a majority of people I know, it's the men would go out and they would go out first, the top tier, like household. Even if they had kids and a wife, they would go out first and they would kind of scope out and then
then bring them.
And then bring them in.
Yeah.
That's, because it's dangerous to go all at once.
And it's easier to support. If you're a man, you can go work and support yourself easier than you can if you have a family and everything like that.
Right. But then again, that's also, there's the privilege in that where it's like a man can go out and like the other family could just like live there and they could be okay without him for, X period. Maybe these people don't have that opportunity, and then there's the desperation. There's all these factors, so it's like, okay, to put a blanket statement over it is like kind of crazy.
But I get what you're saying. There's different strategies.
And I think another thing is true that is like, although like I think obviously a lot of those some of those people are probably awful people who are coming here to do horrible things, right? But I think a lot of those people, I would guess most of those people, like do come out of desperation probably,
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's fucked up because nobody criticizes their actions. Or, I mean, some people do, but the people supporting them, like any argument, it's also like those people are just one side, all poor people, they're struggling. I'm like, yeah, but like they're also being very responsible having kids probably when they have no business having kids. Mm-hmm. They're traumatizing the child by bringing them into a shitty situation and then traumatizing him further by making them cross the border. You know how terrifying that must be?
And physically grueling.
Even for an adult, it's terrifying. Like you'd be like hiding in the swamp, like literally hiding in the swamp from a helicopter, like stuff like that, Imagine how traumatizing that is for a kid. Like that's what like this parent has willingly done, Mm-hmm. But this so that's like nobody criticizes it. Like, what the hell are you doing, even having kids in the first place? But then you can go even further and be like, well, this person grew up in a shitty circumstance. They don't know any better.
Right.
So then it's like it becomes this clusterfuck of like this person is an idiot, yes, but there's also like there's some compassion that should be had, and then like if we do let them in, how does that affect America? What about Americans then?
Yeah, the line keeps being moved around.
It's just like it just becomes like it becomes this like mess of like this like fucking what the fuck do you even do?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it is sad and it's horrible, but it's like they're also guilty in a way too,
Yes, and that is an important point,
It's like,
again, it goes back to this thing. It's like, given the choice, you know, it's like like you're saying, like they're having their children with them. It's like that's a strategy, and I don't hold that against them. You know, it's like you have to be like ruthless in this life. I think.
Yeah.
I think you should be compassionate in this life, but in some ways you have to be ruthless because there are more ruthless powers than you that are at play. And it's like if you kind of like, it was kind of like the taking the gift thing we were talking about the other day. It's like, why wouldn't you take any advantage? Mm-hmm. You know, it's like we're not noblemen. You know, it's like we can't afford like that kind of like grace of like, oh, I can do this stuff. It's like for us, it's a very like, and us again, if it's a dog eat dog thing for us, for people in that position that much lower, it's got to be even more dog eat dog. And it's like you can't afford to like play nice or be polite. You know, you have to just like do whatever it's like guerrilla warfare. It's like, you know, this huge like occupying nation is here in our country. It's like, what are we going to stand out there and like fight their tanks toe to toe? It's like, no, we got to fucking do something. You know, we got to be sneaky and treacherous.
Yeah, you got to use whatever you can, whatever means.
Yeah.
Every advantage you can get on your side, you know, do it.
And I feel like the news, like if anything, like makes everything worse. You know, like you were saying. So I feel like it's always like the one side, like the person fighting one side, it never says, "Well, the other side has a point here." It's always like extreme bias on one side, extreme bias on the other. People just yell at each other, nothing gets done. You know, okay, next week let's get the next thing to be argued about. You yell about this, you yell about this. You know, it's just like
I'm 95% convinced like it's all smoke screens. You know, and that again, it's like the game is so. The players of the game are so good that you don't even like you. It's like Dragon Ball Z, where it's like, you know, they'll be fighting like some badass enemies, like that was only my after image, and it's like you realize like they weren't even keeping up. You know, it's like you were punching at this like at Frieza's after image. Like you weren't even. You thought you almost were hitting Frieza, but you were not even close to hitting Frieza. And like that's what it is. It's like the whole thing when it happened, like Meliana Trump like wore this like
Melania
jacket,
whatever.
Melania Trump.
Yeah, she was wearing that jacket, and like that was like a little gratuitous, but that I felt like I'm like, this is it. You know, it's like this is all intentional. Like no,
what jacket? What are you talking about?
She wore a coat that says like it had some like statement on the back where it was like, I'm not mad, are you? Something.
It's like, I don't really care, do you? Or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is like, that's kind of your thing.
It makes me like her more than that.
Yeah. But it's like,
she's an immigrant.
It's such a controversial thing that it's like, it raises so many questions, and all those questions like create like confusion and doubt. But like, in war, like confusion and doubt is like the powerful thing that you like want to use like as a weapon against your enemy, you know? So for me, like that, maybe I'm like this is like kind of conspiratorial thinking, but like I see it as
it could be
like Trump is a genius. I think like I used to think like he was stupid, but it's just like it was the same thing with George Bush. You know, it's like these men are playing a game that we don't understand. You know, it's
I
like,
mean, I think that's likely to be true. Like, it's not unlike. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was that fucked up. Maybe, you know.
Yeah.
I give him a 25% chance that he's like a genius. I think he's Mr. Magoo in this shit. I don't know, man. It's like, because it's like, I don't, it's like, is he really this calculated, or every like misstep is not really a misstep? Is he really the drunken master?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't want to believe that. I feel like he's senile and he's losing his fucking mind. Like, he's old. Yeah. He's what, 70 some shit?
Almost 70, yeah. I think so.
Yeah, it's like he's just old and losing his fucking marbles. You know? Like, I want to think, like, I want to believe that he's sharp and that there's all this mastermind, and at the end of the day, he pulls down the curtain and he's been this wizard the whole time, and America's saved now. Like, I would love that. I would start jerking off. Like, that's great. Like, oh, he saved America and everything's cool. It was all a facade. Yeah, that would be nice. That's like that would be perfect, you know, because then they'd be like, whew, you know. It's like, oh, good show, you know, even though like you went a little bit too far. But it's like, I don't know. It's been like too crazy, right?
Maybe that's a good point. I like that. That's actually an interesting point, because I've heard people discuss it. Like, is he really calculating things like that? or is he just like
See that?
doing whatever the fuck comes to mind and just like whatever happens, you know?
It's like, why would he give a fuck? It's like mad people don't give a fuck right now, and it's like he's 70.
Yeah.
He's loaded. All this crazy shit's happening. Why would he give a fuck?
He's like untouchable.
He's got like 5 years max left in his life. Maybe.
You think so?
Maybe, I don't know. He's probably like all like
I mean, this stress probably
all
isn't
up on
helping.
amphetamines and shit.
Yeah.
Stress. Yeah, all the crazy shit. He's definitely not on a good diet. You know.
I don't know. It's bizarre, but Melania Trump just is. I feel like that's the first fuckable first lady.
Hell yeah.
That's a good point to bring up.
This is.
I still don't think Michelle Obama looks good. I don't care what people say.
Yeah.
All the progressive humans. She's beautiful.
Melania Trump doesn't. I like that she's not really like an attention whore. Like you never really hear her say anything. I guess the coat thing I didn't even hear, but generally she's not really in the limelight, right?
No.
No, I think she's trying to not be.
Yeah.
in the limelight. Whereas other first ladies, like that was their duty.
Yeah, like their charity bullshit.
You know, they have to. There was like a front where she's like,
Yeah.
I didn't sign up for this. I was just trying to get some dick from a billionaire.
Yeah.
And then
Shit's getting a little crazy
and
even
then
for me.
retired after he died. Like, I didn't sign up for this first lady shit. It's like, I barely even speak English. Like, what the fuck?
she's like a divine specimen, you know. She's like I don't know, like very sophisticated. Who knows what the hell's going on in her head? I don't know. I wonder, what she thinks about all this bullshit.
She's the real mastermind.
Imagine. She's like Putin's like daughter. And she's like, you know.
Ivanka Trump is my favorite.
She's like a sleeper
She's
agent.
ex-KGB operative.
Just make her hotter. She got one of those hats.
Yeah.
Ivanka Trump is super banging, I think.
She got mass surgery though.
Oh, she
right?
did?
I don't
I
know.
don't know. Like her, like
I think so.
I don't know. Like 5 years ago, even now I'm sure she's still hot, but like 5 years ago, it's like, oh man.
She's still. I feel like I couldn't like bone the Trump daughter.
Why?
I feel like there's too much Trump in there. I feel like I couldn't like not see Trump's face. Maybe
I would be okay with
like.
it.
Eh.
I would bang
I
If I was like a picture of Trump on every wall, I would still bang.
gotta use that.
Like his wife would be okay because
Yeah.
it's like she has no connection. She'll be. Maybe it's worse because she took it. You know.
Ivanka, like I think she's more involved. Like I think you hear about her more. Like she tries to do stuff. And stuff.
Yeah, it almost seems like she's trying to do a good, or she's almost trying to do what the first lady should do.
Right,
She's
right,
like
right.
the first daughter.
Yeah, and the other kids you don't really hear much about. I don't know what the hell they do.
No, I think they just make fun of them, and that's about it. There's like the little kid.
Oh, yeah.
I know the little kid is on the soccer team
Oh,
just
really?
because of my soccer sources. Tell me,
Really?
he's like on the there's DC United, which is the DC soccer team. And he's like on
Oh, really?
the youth ranks.
So he's a really good soccer player?
I don't know, or he's the president's kid, and
Yeah.
this threw him in there.
That's crazy to be there. I wonder how where he is of all this stuff. Like, does he, like, do they shield him for everything? Like, not let him watch TV or something?
I don't know. Imagine how much shit you could get though. Imagine you go to school and your dad's Donald Trump, and he's fucking.
Oh, man.
You know, I don't need to explain Donald Trump, but
That kid is probably going to have a lot of, I don't know, it's going to be hard for him psychologically, you know, because he'll never have a normal life.
no, that's definitely got to fuck you up somehow. That's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
it's hard to relate to.
Yeah, like he can't go ride his bike without, like, Secret Service agents, you know?
Yeah, you got to move to like some like, you know, not Budapest.
Buddhist, you meant?
I was thinking some like random Asian country, but Budapest is in Europe. I don't even know. I think it's the Buddha confused me. But you have to like go out in sanctuary and just live with like monks or something.
Yeah,
Maybe-
I feel bad
maybe
for him in
they'll
a
be
way.
okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
like,
the kids definitely didn't ask for this. you know?
Yeah.
Who dat?
The little, like the young Trump boy, the little kid, like 11-year-old.
Little Trump.
Trump boy.
Because
Boy
he, I
Trump.
mean, he obviously
Boy
didn't-
Trump.
yeah, he had like nothing to do with this. Like, you know, he's like in the midst of all this nonsense. Like, he can't even like, he can't do like kid things. You know, he can't go to the park and play in peace. He has to have like 7 agents next to him. You know?
Yeah, it's true.